I just live for that next step. And if you live to take one more step, then your day's easy. Don't worry about going home. Take that next step, right? We knew what we're getting ourselves into, but you don't know what you're getting yourself into until you're actually at that point, right? On the X. When you're on the X, it's a different story.
My full name is Willard Anthony Buell. I go by Willie, Colonel Willie Buell, U.S. Marine Corps retired. The 1st Marine Division held a after-action review of Fallujah 1 for the potential and really certain re-attack unclear of Fallujah. We knew that we were going to have to clear all enemy resistance in the city. So we had a series of objectives linearly north to south through the city proper. And if you ever looked at Fallujah, it's a medieval city and it was scary looking. You know, it was multi-story, all the buildings were connected. There were minarets up in careful positions of overwatch, like OPs, and it was a formidable thing. We improvised. If we ran out of satchel charges, we strung wire around Bangalore torpedoes and threw a time fuse in them. So we had to be creative and had to figure things out. The violence that was occurring right away was a shock. You know, you're reading about the KIAs and WIAs every day. You're reading all the diabolical ways that the enemy was concealing things, hurting us, attacking us every day. Some of the brutality that was going on, you know, beheadings and tortures and things of that nature.
I think it's important that everyone back.
And believe me, enough of that trickled down or was briefed to our Marines. I have never seen a more focused group of Marines and sailors concentrating, using every minute of the day, every hour of the training day, making every round count in training, because we knew we were going to certain heavy combat.
Full name is Christopher Lee Pruitt. So my first name is Chris, C-H-R-I-S, common spelling. Last name Pruitt, P-R-U-I-T-T. I was the senior sergeant of the platoon. Well, the overview of Battle of Fallujah started in October, actually. So for about a month or so, the battalion was doing feints to the south of the city. And what we were doing is we were drawing out the enemy towards the south. So they were building their defense in the south of the city itself. And then we flipped the script on them. A month later, we actually invaded from the north. We came to the train tracks, breached through there. The overall city itself, though, was, you know, I mean, you have everything from burning buildings, right? Injured Marines, dead targets. You had people that were still trying to leave the city. You had women and children leaving the city, older men leaving the city. Just a lot of destruction. For the most part, fighting was light. We got in some scraps here and there. I took shrapnel earlier in the day in my lower leg. And then when we got to where our element of advance squad I was attached to, I could see 2nd Squad, which is the squad was RJ Mitchell. I could see those guys coming down the street. But where we were sitting at, there was just one house in the corner that did not fit right with me. It didn't sit real well with me at all. So while the squad and the attachments were inside our last house that we cleared, taking a rest, because it's been a long day. And so I walked by myself from that house across the street to this corner house. Because this corner house had a great view, rather, on our company CP and where we were at. The gate of the house is open. If the house is open, someone's probably in there or had been in there. So I peek inside the courtyard. I can see rat trails. I can see where they've been practicing their E&E routes, very worn, patterned. So they were training fighters in this area.
The Hell House is an incredible story of figuring out the problem and determining that we had men trapped inside. We had to create a different breach to get them out, pulling bars off a wall and climbing in with all slick out of your gear to get in, crawling on your back, suppressing people above you so that others without their weapons could run through danger to get their brothers and get them out alive.
So then myself and 4 other Marines go into this courtyard. I say, man, they're here. They are here. 2 Marines take positions on the flank of the house. And then myself, Weimer, and Carlisle enter the house. So we enter the house. Weimer's number 1, Carlisle's number 2, I'm number 3. Weimer takes the long wall, so he wasn't straight. Carlisle should take the hook. He freezes up because there's a target inside that house. I kick him in the house. Me and Weimer engage that target, drop the target right there in that first room. So now the gig's up, they all know we're in there in that house. The 3 of us are in this fight. The squads are still pushing, and the other squad's still in another house, and no one's like really coming to our aid or anything. No one knows what's going on. I believe there's 2 fighters upstairs, and so I'm tracing the stairs with my weapon to see where these guys are at. Impacts start hitting right around where I'm standing at on the walls and ricocheting. And so as I have the weapon up to my face, a door opens up in front of me, and another target comes out of a room with a chest rig on. I get shot initially to my leg, and it was thrown through my calf. I don't even know that at that moment. But what hits me next, as I'm engaging, the bolt my weapon is smacked, and then the next round hits my right wrist. And so it hits my nerve, my ulnar nerve, shattering my wrist. And so I spin around. I go outside to grab the 2 other Marines to get them aside. They come in, and I exit the house because I need to get the other squad in this fight, and I don't have any communication with that squad. So as I go outside, there's a fighter up top, and so I'm running from the front door to the gate. As I get to that gate, I'm shot again, took a burst, breaking my ribs. I fall right, and again now I'm facing that squad that was pushing down towards us. So I jump up, and I run towards them, and I'm like, hey, we gotta get guys over here. Calso was attached to that squad, and he pulls me and says, hey, what's going on? So as he's trying to bandage me up, I draw in the sand the schematics of the house. Keep in mind, when I left that house, Carlisle and Weimer were still there. Carlisle was shot in the femur. He's screaming. You ever hear a grown man scream like this? You'll understand what I mean, but he's screaming in the house. So I tell RJ, immediately RJ takes the squad. They go into that house, and they start clearing the house themselves. And that's where my story stops and their story starts beginning.
We created a humanitarian center. We called it Brahma Park. We immediately turned to getting the city cleaned up and restored. Emergency services, sewage, electricity, all of that. And we did the first vote in 55 years there, the Purple Fingers. And it shocked me how many people wanted to come and vote. Thousands came out in the rubble of their city to show up to the voting booths and vote, because they just never had done it before. You always want to believe it's worth something. If I'm around my brother and sister Marines, it's worth it. I don't have to look past that. I want to take a quick moment to tell you a story that I think perhaps was the most important component to the success of our battalion. Then we had a lot of corporals, senior lance corporals, and some sergeants who did not have time to make a third deployment. We had 134 of them, and we were getting large numbers of School of Infantry, new PFCs and privates, significantly expanding the battalion, and I was about to lose 15% of the best leadership right at the lance corporal to sergeant level that you could ask for, men who had done a tremendous work up to that point. So the sergeant major and I brought all of them out and made an appeal to them to extend, just to make the time for that deployment. As we were speaking, almost as if I couldn't have asked for it to be choreographed, 4 buses came rolling up from the School of Infantry, our last dump of new Marines. And they were stumbling out of the buses with their sea bags, and the platoon sergeants were yelling at them. And I said, that's why I need you to stay, so we can bring them home to their families. And 118 of the 134 Marines agreed to extend, to make the deployment. And that was the core magic at that level that made the difference for us, that made everything in training and absolutely in combat.
Every time you deploy in a combat scenario, you ever have any type of trauma or experiences like that overseas, if you come back expecting to be the same person, you're wrong. You changed. Every time I deployed, I changed. I lost a part of me every time I deployed. So I was never the same before. So I had to accept that change. The ones who have fallen, they're always talked about. A lot of us will always come back together and talk about so-and-so, their experiences, the funny thing they did, the dumb thing they did. But the camaraderie that a lot of us still have together is still present. If you were with me in 3-1, whether my platoon or not, that whole entire battalion is deserving to be commemorated. That same camaraderie is still today. Like those Marines in my battalion, we're still in contact today.
Uncommon valor was a common virtue on Iwo Jima, and it wasn't Fallujah. You know, we always wanted to measure up to what they did. You know, Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Iwo Jima, Okinawa, the Chosin Reservoir, Incheon. Our Marines did. And the next generation, I hope, will believe in themselves every bit as much as the ones that I serve with.